this is Stephanie from My Porch Prints, and today I want to talk to you about how to print your ESTY printable download files. This is going to be a two-part series. The first part, part 1, is printers and paper. This is some really basic information for people who have little to no experience printing downloads. I'm going to talk about where to print, the best printer types for digital downloads, and a little about the kind of paper I use. In a previous video, I talked about how to purchase and download printables on Etsy. Now we're ready to print. You have a few options for printing. First, you can print at home on a color printer. Second, you can do local printing companies or office supply stores like Staples, FedEx, etc. Third, you could try local libraries, although the quality can vary. And 4, you can try online printers like Vistaprint or Uprinting, etc. If you print online, there is usually a process of uploading your files. You'll go to the website and kind of walk through the process. It can be hard to navigate for beginners and expensive. For example, Uprinting has a custom product builder for uploading your own files. Then you can choose the size, paper type, etc. If you're using an online printer, I personally prefer matte paper, not glossy. Glossy is usually for photos. However, for the cost of printing a few things online, you could almost buy your own ink printer. But if you print at a local printer or library, you will likely need to load your files onto a portable file device, such as a USB flash drive, which you can buy pretty much anywhere. I'll try to link to one below. If you've never used a flash drive, it's a small device you plug into your computer and then drag and drop your files onto it. I won't go into how it works, but it's pretty easy and you can look it up online. Just search for how to use a flash drive. If you want to print your files at home, but don't know what kind of printer to get, here's some information about types of printers. Basically, there are two kinds of printers for home use: inkjet and laser, also sometimes called a toner printer. People can get really confused about these, so I'm going to give you a simple rundown of how each of them works. For an inkjet printer, it uses liquid ink, not toner, that shoots through tiny nozzles onto the paper. For a laser or toner printer, it uses toner, which is powder that is transferred to the paper via a laser that creates an electrostatic charge. Then the toner is bonded to the paper using heat. An inkjet printer is usually smaller in size, whereas a laser or toner printer is usually larger in size. Inkjet printers tend to be less expensive to buy up front, but the ink can get expensive as you have to replace it often if you print a lot. Inkjet printers can range from anywhere around $30 to $200. Laser printers are a little more expensive up front. The cost ranges widely. $60 would be about the cheapest you could get, and then it goes to $300 and even higher. Inkjet printers tend to be better for small volume printing of high quality items like photos. Laser printers tend to be better for large volume printing of simple items like text documents. Inkjet printers, the reason that we like them is because they really produce beautiful color and bright images. And laser printers we like because they're great for high volume printing. But inkjet printers, some of the things I don't like about them is that if you use them often, the ink refills can get expensive. And then some people have trouble with the ink smearing if you get it wet or apply glue. Although if you give it plenty of time to dry, that's usually not as much of an issue. Laser printers, the colors can just be kind of dull. They don't often match the screen image, at least in my experience. Maybe a higher end one would, but in the price range that we're kind of looking at, I haven't had much luck finding a laser or toner printer that can print true to color. So what kind of printer do I personally use? For a long time, I used a laser toner printer by Brother. But when I started creating printables, I realized the color wasn't matching up with my designs. Things like vibrant reds and aqua blues didn't look right. They were dull compared to the digital file. So I bought a CANON TS9120 inkjet printer, and I've been very pleased with it. The colors are really true. I use it for all of my printables. I'll link to it below. It's worth noting, I've heard that ink printers can get clogged really easily because of all the tiny nozzles that they use and the liquid ink. when the ink sits inside the little nozzles and dries out, then it's important to print regularly to keep the ink from drying out inside the nozzles. So finally, I'm going to talk just briefly about paper. Lots of people ask what kind of paper I print on. It's really basic. I almost always use regular white printer paper or regular white cardstock. While using higher quality papers can make a big difference in the printing, I've never had trouble with the basic printer paper. I buy it at Walmart. Same thing with the cardstock. It's just basic white. I'm not even sure of the weight, but it's usually really thin. I don't want it too heavy or thick because I use it for a lot of folded items. You can use higher quality papers or tinted papers, whatever you want, but I find the inexpensive papers and cardstock seem to work fine for my needs. So that's just a little bit about printing and paper and printer types, and I hope that's helpful to you. In part 2, I'm hoping to talk a little bit about file types, such as JPEG or PDF files, and also a little bit about resizing images and printing two-sided, just a little bit to help make the printing process a little bit more transparent and easy to understand. Thanks, everyone.